Hello guys and welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. This is our 24/7 update show and our headline for today regards the departure of ELLIS SIMMS. He's now set to join Coventry with a medical underway. Apparently Coventry are willing to meet our valuation, which sits between 6 and 8 million. People are going to look at this and think, selling a striker to Coventry, would there have been legs in using him as leverage for a deal for Gyökeres? But you know, if the club found the deal to be eye-watering in the first place, this probably wouldn't have changed that. The other talking point here, of course, is letting another young academy player go. In an ideal and perfect world, of course, the team is constantly replenished with fresh talent in the positions it needs it, and we have a lot of positions that could do with some fresh talent. But increasingly, that's just not the case in modern football. This isn't a perfect world, and this is a much better system, and the money we're getting from young players now, you know, Anthony Gordon, the first man that springs to mind, even Nathan Broadhead, we squeezed a few pennies out of. It's so much better than what we've been doing over the last decade, which is waiting until players are 23, 24, still not breaking into the first team, and then we're either releasing them for nothing or selling them for peanuts. So, not perfect, of course, selling a young player who's showing bags of promise. But you know, we're getting fees for them, and on that note, our next story is Chelsea looking set to complete the signing of Samuel Smith for nearly 4 million is the number. He's 17, left back. Obviously, a great fee for such a young player who's attracting interest from top Premier League clubs. City were linked with him as well. And after what I've just said, this one does feel a little tougher. Because left back is a position where we are horrendously understaffed, and in the last year we've sold Thierry Small, 18 years old, Niels Nkunku, 22 years old, and now Samuel Smith, who's 17. And yeah, as I said, not a perfect world. We need the money, but it's a position where we looked future-proofed. If you go back to when we had Dean in, and then now Mikalenko looking more of a weak option, but we had all these young players lined up behind, ready to get into the team. Nkunku it didn't work out for. Thierry Small we sold to Southampton, thinking that you know, because he wanted to be in the first team picture quicker. Perhaps if he'd have stuck around, he would be in that first team picture now at 18 years old. And now, you know, that pushed Samuel Smith up the pecking order, and now he's gone too. So you know, we did look future proof. Now we look totally threadbare. Looking at players who might come in to change the narrative here. Of course, we're linked with Leeds forwards again, and I will double up here to save a bit of time. I'll say that GNONTO continues to be linked. TalkSport are now using the wording that Everton look to be able to get him on a bargain fee, or at least we as a club look or feel confident in our ability to get that done. I don't know if many people outside the club would say that, and it's interesting to hear because Leeds famously, as they've gone down, have got all these players with contracts that either have, you know, release clauses for nothing or clauses that they can't play in the Championship. If they play X amount more games, they'll have to pay, you know, extortionate fees to the clubs that they were bought from, and they just can't afford it. But GNONTO is not one of those players, so he would be an interesting bargain. Maybe that's reflective of the fact they need money for these big signings and big contracts that they've got to get themselves through. Secondly, Harrison, of course, continues to be linked. To gauge a sense of interest from the fans, we've had a poll up for the last 24 hours, and 80% seem keen on the signing, 7% anti. Now, is that because of Harrison as a player, or is that just a reflection of a absolute desperation to get any kind of business done? Interested to hear your thoughts on that. Looking less likely, another door has closed on us, of course. Eamon Kari, the 18-year-old player at PSG, young lad we were chasing alongside Leicester apparently, has been loaned to Lorient with an option to buy, so that's off the table. Concerning reports as well from the CEO of Almeria, Mohamed El Assis, who claims that our bid for El Bilal Toure is, in his words, or through some sort of translation, wide of the mark, which potentially not too concerning if it's a first bid. Clubs have to negotiate and find some sort of middle ground, but wide of the mark sounds quite either provocative language to force a better second bid, or like a closed door. So interested to see how that progresses, if it progresses at all. And a new link to end, that is Christopher Bonsubar, a forward who signed for Genk actually less than 24 hours ago. So probably just one we're monitoring and tracking for the future, potentially a loan in January, who knows. But that's the news for today. Quite a lot of points I want to hear from you guys in the comments. That's firstly, what are you thinking of our new look approach to young talent? You know, we're letting a lot of players go a little bit earlier. We're sort of selling them as they start to increase in value, as opposed to letting them go when, you know, that potential has seemed to have washed out. But you know, there are players, young players here that you would like to see integrated in the first team. The question is still open about Lewis Warrington as well. So what are your thoughts on that subject? Who have we sold recently, young player wise, that you would like to see stay? Other players, what do you think of the Leeds lot? Of those forwards, who would be the ones you took? Who would you want to see come in? Who do you think would have the best impact on the side? And, you know, when it comes to forwards, we've had loads of links recently, haven't we? Joel Piro, the ones I've mentioned here, Gyökeres. Who would be your number one target? Let me know that, and we will see you tomorrow for more updates.